And welcome back to Let's Play Disgaea, Hour of Darkness. This video is going to be a shorter one, just to bridge the gap between parts 5 and 6, because I am going to be doing a few things to prepare my party for the rest of the game. Now, I've been saying that the warriors and the fighters that I've made are going to be pretty temporary, and that I'm going to have other people replace them for full-time party member duty. And it's about time I start working on that, because if I don't do that right now, they'll probably end up at a disadvantage later in the game. So, first order of business is, I mentioned Flan doesn't have any spells, and she never learns any naturally. So I want her to learn some spells. So, I've created this mage, and this mage is not a pupil to Laharl, it is instead a pupil to Flan. And when I have this mage stand next to Flan, Flan can use her ice spell. Now, as you can see, her range on the ice spell is much lower. That's because the ice spell is actually level 0 right now, compared to her ice spell. If I give her this witch's staff and then use it, she has a range of 2. So until Flan can actually level up the skill, she will not be able to use it past just one range. So this is going to be a bit risky, but if I put her here, as you can see she has very low health and defense, and then put Etna here, have her defend, just to make sure she doesn't get any counters, and then put anyone really, Randy will do right here, and then have him defend. I can have a Flan just use these ice spells while my mage stays in relative safety, because the Geo panel blocks her back. As you can see, that did not do a whole lot to this guy. And let me just check something. Okay, so that was actually pretty important too, because it shows off a bug that, this is kind of a weird place to mention it. I might mention it again later for people who don't watch this video. But this game has a very strange bug where, to try and balance out the strengths of magic users, 1 out of every 4 enemies in a stage will have a boosted resist stat that's double what it's normally for an enemy of that type. But due to a bug, and I'm not sure how this one occurred, these enemies with the double resist stats actually have magic damage incoming to them, in addition to having the boosted resist. So you see how I only did 4 damage to this guy, even though he's pretty much identical to him. So yeah, that's pretty annoying, and it hurts magic users' viability during the story mode, but luckily this bug is not present in the item world. But that's the basic game plan for right now, is to get Flan to learn 1 of each spell from every school of magic, which is fire, wind, and ice. So I'm going to be making quite a few mages and have her use all these spells. Now, to learn a spell permanently, or at least not have to stand next to my pupil to use it, I just have to use it 3 times, and then it'll have gained enough skill experience to be used. I forgot to have Randy defend there, didn't I? Or maybe I did, and they just had enough counters left over. Whatever. I never really brought this up, but yeah, skills level up when you use them. When they level up, they simply become more powerful. So I'm going to have Flan do that, going to be killing these guys quite a bit, so she might gain a couple levels, because even though these guys give very low experience, you know, just taking them out a lot will cause her to develop her stats and stuff as I do it. Not much I can do about that, but I really want these spells, because Flan is far and away one of the best spellcasters. In addition to the magic users I'm going to create with Flan, I'm also going to be creating a cleric, so that she can learn healing spells, because while Power of Love is a pretty good healing spell, it's not good for every situation, especially since Flan is meant to take advantage of her range with spells. So I'd want her to stay in the back lines and have ranged healing magic. So now that that's out of the way and I've showed that off, there's a couple other things that I want to accomplish. First off, I'm going to get Randy, Eredrick, Barbara, Mina, and at least one of the mages I create with Flan up to level 10. And the reason I want to do that is because the classes I want to use for the rest of the game require a male brawler and a male warrior at level 10, a female warrior and a female brawler at level 10, and then a female warrior and a female mage at level 10. Guts and the thieves that I've created, they required a male or a warrior or brawler of any gender to be at level 5, and that unlocks them. So that's why I got them comparatively early to the classes I want to get. In addition to that, I'll be getting those classes up to about level 7, because that's what Etna is, and I feel she's a better gauge of what I want characters to be at, as opposed to Laharl, who's just very powerful and gets a lot of kills naturally. And the other thing I'm going to be doing is building up an Arms Master, and between this video and the next, I'll probably have an Arms Master built up to level 100. So that'll take a bit, because as you see, the Arms Masters I can get right now start around 8 or 7. If I got a really good item, they might be at like 10. And while subduing them in the item world does double their level, it's still pretty slow, because that would only be like 16. I'd have to do this, what, like 7 or 8 more times before I get one that's close to 100. So it takes a while, and there's no guarantee that I'll run into an Arms Master on the first 10 floors, so it might take me a bit. I don't know if I'll have the actual Part 6 out by the end of today, but I hope to. And the reason I don't want to go past floor 10 in the item world is every 10 floors you complete, the level of the enemies tend to spike after you complete the 10th floor, and at this point in the game, those enemies would be pretty powerful and could probably destroy my team, and it would be a shame to have all that progress go to waste just because I got overconfident. So yeah, those are the big things I'm going to be accomplishing between this part and the next, so when I actually get to Part 6 proper, I'll have some new team members. Anything else I want to mention? Well, since we're actually using staff users at this point, I'll just detail a little bit about how staves work. Staves are a pretty unique weapon in the 7 families of weapons. They do not have any skills that they teach characters naturally, but instead, characters who learn magic, like our mages for instance, staves can power them up, and the power-ups they can get, depending on the level of the staff mastery they have, is it increases the range up to a maximum of 4 when they get enough levels, as well as the potential area of effects they can use with any of their spells, again up to a maximum of 4. As well, each level of staff mastery increases the amount of damage you do with your spells, like it adds a modifier by about like 2% or so per level, and I forget what this maxes out at. If I was being generous, I'd say it's 200% or something, but probably more in the realms of 140%. So pretty useful. I'll check it out later and amend that when I actually remember what it is. But yeah, staff's pretty cool, do a lot of useful things for magics, and I think they're one of the better weapon trees just because of the beneficial effects they bring. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to go over, and hopefully I'll have the next actual Part 6 out by the end of the day. If not, it's not a big deal. So I hope you enjoyed watching, or at least learned something, and I will see you next time. Have a nice day.